think team play is interesting to me because there's so much potentially to this. And man alive, team play is tough. I've seen some comments in our comments here. It says team play is nothing more than a shared bankroll. I think it's a lot more than just a shared bankroll. I think there's a lot more to this that we can get to. And frankly, it looks like this to me. If I look at team play, I see it as a business. And if you're going to do team play, and there's two kinds of team play, right? There's the Hawaiian crap shooter style of team play where everybody just goes, right? They all have their own money. They're all playing together, but they're playing with their own money. And they have good shooters and bad shooters and random shooters and whatever. And they're all just betting on each other because they're a team. They've traveled together. They know their things, but they ain't sharing money, right? That's one way of doing team play, right? Vince is saying team play equals spouse, wife, friend, partner for sure, right? Now, my wife and I, right, we could say that we're team players. We don't play craps though. She plays slots, I play craps, and yet shared money. And we do our thing. And Vince was saying last night about where do you put your profits, and you put your profits in your wife's purse. My family, it's the other way around. She gives hers to me because she can go for hours and hours and hours on those slots. But anyway, I feel like if you're a team of people that are going to go and you're going to play to just go to play together as a team, you're not really a team, right? You're a group of friends, you're friendly, you're doing things kind of to help each other out. Some of the team play things, a team like that can pull off, right? There are some things that a non-conjoined team, a team that's not sharing money, can do. And we'll talk about some of that during the week as we go here. What you're seeing on screen, by the way, is kind of the topics I want to hit this week and next week. These topics may take us a day or two to get through. I don't know how long it's going to be, but what I really want is to see your comments in the chat as I go through this kind of stuff, what your personal ideas are, okay? So today I want to talk about team agreements. We'll talk about the financial plan and what a financial agreement between teammates could look like. Because if you're going to go in and share money with a team and actually go through and pool funds and then go out and play with the shared funds, it changes everything. And that's why I say it's you got to operate it like it's a business in that respect. So if you're going to go that, and that's the kind of team I'm going to be talking about, because to me, all of us going to the table, okay, fine, I can shoot. Greg can't shoot at all. Chris Sideshow's not allowed to touch the dice. I mean, you get, that's friendly play. Combined money, conjoined teams are different. So today we're going to talk about team agreements and what it might look like as a team agreement. I do want to get into what financial planning and agreements look like, because again, if we're sharing money, right? And let's make an assumption. Let's say that we're all good friends here, right? We're all good friends. Let's say that me and Greg and Dylan and Vince and Jay, the five of us agree to go to, Biloxi one day. We're all going to go to Biloxi, and you know what? Everybody is bringing whatever they want to bring. We put it all on the bed, and we just divvy the money up on the bed, go downstairs and play, and then walk upstairs at the end and divvy up the profits, and we're done, right? That's a loose gentleman's agreement kind of a thing. That can go really sideways really fast if you don't have financial plan and agreements, like signed agreements in place. And in fact, maybe even a business, maybe even an LLC behind that to manage it. So there's issues at play here because money changes things. Money changes things, and as you all know that. So if we're all kind of just, yeah, sure, thumbs up, and we're gonna do the pinky swear thing, and we're gonna share the money, and then we don't, that can be a big problem. So I think financial planning is a big part of it. I think team members having assigned roles is a big part of this too. I think you're gonna find that besides gameplay style, there's going to be roles to fill in a team. There's going to be guys, and again, let's think about this in terms of not just craps, because team gambling is a thing. If you're sports betting, you've got people that have to do research and number crunching, and there's going to be mathematicians, and there's going to be, if Vince is on my team, Vince is running the strategies on win craps to make sure that we're ready and practiced up for what we're going to play. Everybody's got a role to play, right? And that's, I think, an important piece. You got to call that out. There's roles to play before you go, roles to play at the casino too. The game plan, of course, the majority of the week, we're going to have fun talking about game planning. What do you do? What are you doing at the table with 4 people or 2 people or 5 people or 6 people? How do you attack a table with that many people? And there's lots of ways to talk about it. I've had a lot of people email me the way to do it, right? The way that they play or the way they recommend that you play, and how do you do it, right? There's so much that goes into the game planning. And I think at the end of it, you're going to need an SOP of some kind of standard operating procedure that's going to tell us how we do this. Like, how are we traveling, right? How are we buying in? Where are we staying? What are we spending? Where does it all go? How does it work? Who's practicing? What times are we practicing? There's lots that goes into this. And I think it's not just, hey, let's all show up at, the casino and say a Hail Mary and hope that it all works out. So, yes. So here's the thing. So Buckeye's saying, I brought 5K, you brought 1K. Here's the thing, and we'll talk about this, right? That's a real scenario, right? Yes. To me, and again, your team agreement could be different than my team agreement, but if we pool our money, and let's say you put 5 and I put 1, right? I've got less risk than you have, and that's the way that works. You put 5, I put 1, we win $1,000. I'm getting 200, you're getting 800. That's just the way that works, right? You're doing math at that point. You're both putting in the work, but the risk to run the business is different unless you run the business in such a way that you all put money in and you get a salary coming out and the business grows. We're all making salary. That's a different way to approach it. And that's a way, I think, in the financial planning part that we can talk about. I think that's interesting. And I think that'll be a whole topic probably for tomorrow. We'll talk about financial planning because that's an interesting thing. And in fact, I can't keep the comments static. I wish I could. But in the same scenario, if you split the cut based on risk and profit, the person who bought in for 5K and the person who bought in for 1K, the 1K person might be playing with the most money. Like, you don't have to split the money evenly amongst your team, right? The strategy that the 1K person, maybe let's say Waylon's the 1K person and I'm the 5K person, right? And I'm going to play the horseman. Waylon's going to play a ladder because he's good at it. I'm giving Waylon 5,000. I'm playing with 1. So we're playing with different money amounts than we bought in with because the strategy a person plays with might be suited to their play and they need more money for that strategy. Anyway, that's getting a cart ahead of the horse here. But I think the money thing is definitely very interesting as I think about it. I think there's lots to go here. So, yeah. And so here, the thing, Kevin, is this. You're saying keep it simple, not technical. I'm saying for me, I want to keep my friends, right? So we have an agreement and that's the agreement. So we can stick to the agreement and it takes all the feelings out of it. You make the gameplay cold. Like, we're going to go with this money. We're going to play this long. We're doing this thing. We're going to split it up at the end, or we're going to redeposit it and redistribute it however you want to. That part of it is business-like. Everything else, we're buds. And if we don't screw the business, we're going to be okay. And I think that's kind of where I think we're going to find some interesting comments in here for sure, and some interesting things as we think about it. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you all an assignment, which is this, to think about for tomorrow's show. Let's think about this and maybe email me, john@procraps.net, or drop comments in the video, not in the chat, but actual comments so they stay there for a while. Or even better, go to Discord and leave me a note in the Discord channel. But if you're thinking about playing as a team and under the guise that I'm talking about, which is pooling money, playing together, and then redistributing the money at the end of the thing, what financial things worry you? What financial ideas do you have in terms of that? Because there's a couple of things in prep for tomorrow. I want you to think about that. Today, what I want to talk about a little bit is team agreements. And what does a team agreement look like? So here's some of the things I think that when we have a team agreement, we say, hey, look, we're going to be a team. Me and Greg and Jay. I'm looking at the last 5 people in the chat. Me and Greg and Jay and James Newberry and Grover Clark. We're going to be a team. We decide we're going to be a team. We're going. We need to decide on these things. I believe the communications plan is a big thing. How are we going to actually talk? And it seems silly, but are we going to be on a private Discord channel to keep the chats persistent forever? Because I believe that it's critically important as a team to keep communications alive. In other words, like a group text message sucks, right? You can't read them on a computer unless you're on a Mac. And even then, it's not very good. You can't save them. If one person's writing one person on the side, that can't be a thing. I think something like a Discord or a Slack or some other thing where it keeps or even email, I guess, if you're old school, to keep those communications together and consistent and referenceable. I want to go back to what we all said and what we all agreed to. If there's a conflict, number one conflict resolution is to go back what we said earlier. Do we agree to X? Let's go back and look at what we said. How do we communicate? What's the way to get my attention right now? Because as a team, you may have a thought that you got to get to your team, and there's got to be agreements there on how we talk. Like, what's the medium for talking? And what is the expected, outside of work hours, what's the expected response time? Because those things matter. Those little things matter. You don't want to feel like you're being dissed or whatever else. So I think that's a big thing. How do you handle conflict? I think is a big thing too. You can do it where it's a majority rule. You could say, if there's 5 people on the team and one person's being a jerk and 3 people agree, then, that's the thing. And what is your mediation plan in a conflict? How do you resolve a conflict? What's the rules surrounding when somebody leaves the team? There's a lot of things to think about, especially when you're doing multiple trips a year with shared money. It gets complicated. It gets complicated here in the heart. It gets complicated here in the brain. Math is not complicated to divvy it up, right? But the way that you approach each other and the way that you handle things is important. I think it's got to be spelled out. And it's weird to spell things out with your friends. I don't want to make Greg sign a paper that says he's not going to screw me. I know Greg's not going to screw me, right? But I do feel like we have to sign a thing and say, look, we can have all the fun and be great friends and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when we go to a casino, if there's a conflict about when to leave the table, right? Which could happen. We could be up 27% and we agreed on 20 and it's time to go, right? The reason why, if you watch the History Channel show on the Dominator, the reason why he was kicked out of the team was because he wouldn't agree to the plan, right? As good of a player as he was and as great of a thrower as he purportedly was, he didn't agree to the plan. Bye. That's the way that has to work. And they can still be friends, but you can't work in that group, right? And so, yeah, Jason, make me the manager. But you know what? Somebody's got to be the manager. Somebody has to be the manager. That's an important thing. And Buckeye, you're getting into the idea of an SOP, right? Like, how do you operate at the table? How do you operate as a team? How do you communicate in the game? You have to learn Morse code because you have to have your hands on the rack and tapping out commands at Morse code because the casino don't like you talking, I guess, right? Yes, Dan, it's a lot like being in a band. And I will tell you from experience, being in a band for the better part of my early days, it's hard, man. My bandmates were my best friends, right? We lived in shitty little one room apartments together for years. We did a little mini tour and lived in the back of a van for the better part of 2 weeks around the Northwest up here. It's brutal, right? You're like this. You're literally blood brothers, right? And then you make money and it all goes to hell. Or one guy starts with a drinking problem and it all goes to hell, right? Best friends don't talk anymore because stupidity. And this is involving real money. It could be real stupidity, and we don't want to see that. So there could be silent partners, Dr. Russ. You could have a banker behind the whole thing, and we are the talent. That could be a way to do it, right? And that person, again, that's an easy financial way, right? Because he puts the money up, we do the work, we all take a salary. That's a better way to do it. If you can find an angel, how good would that be, right? Yeah, Vince, right? The Dominator was on a great roll, and it's happened to him a lot. Apparently, he was on a lot of great rolls, and they wanted to cash out, and he wanted to go in heavy. So that's an interesting thing. So yeah, Kevin is saying group text or email. It's documented. I like Slack and Discord because I can track conversations that way. I think that's an important thing. And Ken is saying, of course, someone's got to take the lead. You got to have somebody who's just going to be the face of it and the driver of the thing, and that person, that's a tough role to play in. I played that role in my band, right? Every band, by the way, the bass player is the leader. The singer is the face of the band. The drummer is the drunk, always. The guitar player is getting all the girls, and the bass player just keeping all that shit together. We're like making it work, man. That's our job. And I had to fire 2 of my best friends from bands because, as the one person who was kind of sane through all that time, you got to do what you got to do, right? And I think this could end up being a lot in the same way. So there's a lot of potential conflict. I think communication is a big deal. I think practice planning is a big deal, right? And it doesn't have to be just shooting. I know that if Greg's on my team, he's telling me throw random all the time, right? If you're a shooting team, if you think you're going to be a team of shooters, then you all have to practice. and agree to practice and practicing the same things that you want to work on in the games, right? That's a big part of it. If you're not a shooting team, if you're a strategy-based team, and I think all teams are going to be strategy-based, but everybody's got to know their role. What strategy am I playing when we go to Biloxi? And every day, twice a day, 3 times a day for a month, I'm practicing my strategy. Twice, 3 times a week, we're going to get online. We're going to find a medium like Discord where we can get online and share our tables and practice together as a team. We're going to jump into online tournaments and play as a team in a tournament. You're going to join John's Craps League as a team and play every week, right? Those are the things I'm talking about. You got to agree to that. You can't have one person going, you know what? It's Wednesday and I don't feel like it. No, because $5K of my money is in the coffers here, and you don't feel like it ain't gonna fly, right? So if we're doing this, and I think that's part of the agreement is when are we gonna practice? What is your commitment? Those things I think have to be called out. You can't have the drummer show up to practice drunk 3 times a week. You can't have one player just show up when he feels like it because he thinks he's God's gift to gambling. That can't fly, even if you're best friends. Okay, so remember that. I think research is a big part of this too. I think on the team side of things, part of the roles, but because again, this can go beyond craps. You can be a sports betting team, and sports betting teams don't practice, but they research, right? You may have somebody whose job it is on that team to get ready for the trip is like, for example, March Madness just started, right? We could have been having a team that runs up to March Madness, right? And one person is researching the women's, one person's researching the men's. And here we go to Vegas, and we're going all in as a team with different strategies, parlays and hedges and all these things to win in the college basketball tournament. If team member 1 doesn't do the research and we go out there and get screwed, that has to be called out in this agreement, and there's got to be a mitigation plan for that. Okay, so I think that's part of it. And Skill Luck, you're right. Crapsy could work a lot of that out. It's got the networking, it's got the videos, it's got a lot of things in it that could really, really help. I think it's a big deal. So I think these little things, if you don't call them out, it's going to be a big problem. Okay, and in other words, I say here, it's time, effort, it's humanity, right? You got to put the effort in, you got to put your time in, you got to get everything on paper, right? Then you schedule out the effort, and you got to keep the humanity part of it, right? To Kevin's point, there's a lot of aloha with the team, right? We're all here. We're all brothers and sisters. We're doing the thing. And the agreements and the boring crap, that keeps you able to be friends because you can refer to it. You can use the agreements as a way to be cold, right? And I think sometimes decisions have to be made cold without feeling. And you can then have your feeling. I think that's really an important thing. So anyway, Dr. S. This is an unrelated question, but yeah, most of us win more than we lose. You know what? I think over my life, I've lost more than I've won. I'll 100% honest. Recently, I'm on this kind of a trend because I'm smarter now. When I was younger, didn't know what I was doing, I wasted a lot of money learning. I think I'm getting better at it now. I probably win 75% of the time and lose about a quarter of the time. And again, it's how leveled it is, but for sure. Let's see what else we're saying. Kevin says, I was the bass player. Yes, I was the bass player. I'll show you my bass at some point. My bass is broken, but it looks really cool. I refinished it last year. But yeah, you can tell by my personality, right? I'm definitely like the manager type, right? And I organize things out and I think things through. That was always my role in the band. In our band, we of course, drank and smoked and everything else, but I was always like the designated driver of everything that we did because it would be nuts. And I put myself in that role early because I wanted to succeed. So that's kind of that's kind of always been my sort of thing. So yeah. All right, let's get into the last bit of this here, which is the fun part. Let's talk about strategies and how we play. We're going to do a little bit of strategy discussion every day this week because I think we have to. I think there's no way to have this conversation without talking about strategy. And what I've done is I've taken my toolkit strategies and I've categorized them into ways that I kind of see them, right? So I've got a few dark side plays, right? I got the don't pass with odds. And matter of fact, my don't pass with odds has always been a little bit progressive. I like what Greg is doing with his progression in the don't pass with odds. I think a more nuanced rule set based way to do don't with odds is important. I think the ricochet, the double ricochet on the back wall, I think is a great way to play the dark side. I think the power hedge that I do, I know Greg hates it, but that thing makes money, and that thing makes piles of money when it's working, is a good one. And of course, my Southern Border strategy, which is a good grinder dark side strategy. I've got pure right side strategies, and those strategies are purely dark. Those are pure plays on the 7. The right side stuff, the 3-point Johnny, which is basically a molly with smarter odds, the crossbow, the skill 66, the 410 bank street, I love that one, the goat, my come ladder, the T-Rex, the tiered progression that we worked on a few weeks back. Those are all pure right side, no hedge, no hybrid. They're just going for it, right? Then you've got hybrid strategies. The odds maker, hybrid. It plays both sides. The horseman, very much a hybrid. The cocoa butter, which is the Butterberg, that Iniquity's power pit. He renamed it to that. It's the Butterberg coming from the back wall. And then you got the 6, 7, 8. And I like Iniquity's version of that, the Trident, a little bit better than the standard of 6, 7, 8. But those hybrid ways to play, and I think some mixture of all of that within your team is important. I think you can't have everybody playing the 3-point Johnny. If everybody's playing the same strategy, you might as well just bet more yourself, right? But if you move the money around a little bit and be creative with it, and have some folks playing with a more measured approach, some folks playing more aggressively, and some folks playing the opposite side, I think you can make this work. Matter of fact, today I'm going to try something a little bit nuts. We're going to try a Wayland thing today that I think may work. He said it works. He showed a video where it works. I've never tried it myself. We're going to try it today and see if it works. Playing both sides of the table. But I think that, and I've shown this, if you look at the video that I did, I put it out just the other day, the come bets and place bets together video that I did, where I played come bets and place bets, and I was like, which one's better? And we were like kind of playing around. Both won. They both won at different times and for different reasons, but they both won really good. Yesterday was a day where the Sideshow Gamble did a video with 4 versions of the coin pusher strategy. And they all played it a little bit differently. Different levels of conservatism, different levels of being aggressive, different starting points. And guess what? Well, of course, on a roll where you've only got 2 7s out of 45 rolls, you're going to make money. But they all made money. Differing levels of money, but they all made money. And I think having these goals is an important piece of this thing. So there's that. I think knowing the kind of strategies you've got and knowing who's going to play which one, because I'm well practiced at the horseman, right? If we're going to the casino and somebody's going to play the horseman, it better as well be me, right? I wouldn't be the person to play a power press strategy because that's not how I play, but maybe Greg is good at that stuff. I don't know. I think Greg probably sucks at power pressing, but you get my point. The other strategies over here I've got on the right-hand side are strategies that don't really fit a category. For example, the offensive line strategy, one of my favorite ways to play the don't, actually. I play the don't with the offensive line way of doing it, but that one can also play on the right side. When I did that strategy that day, I played it from both the pass line and the don't pass line. It works either side. So as a shooter, you could play the offensive line on yourself from the do and then switch back over to the don't. The ones in purple are strategies that aren't mine. They're here because they're well accepted. The quarter pounder with ease, the HP 120, the coin pusher, Wayland's ultimate inside. These are things that I don't play, that I don't necessarily even like. But they're strategies that work, that people are very practiced at. And as part of a team thing, if somebody on my team is really great and well versed in that coin pusher, and we've got it nailed down to where it's the right strategy, one person should play that, right? It won't be me, but somebody should. And so that's why I've got others there too, because a team is going to be more than just my toolkit. It's going to be everybody's personal toolkit. And I think as a team, you make a chart like this where the team decides what is our team toolkit. What's our go-to dark side? What's our go-to right side? What's our go-to hybrid? What's our go-to other thing? And how are we going to play? Who's going to play what? So that's going to come into play, I think, for sure. So there it is. That is my first thoughts on team play. So again, today, all about the team agreement. And I think lots more to cover on the topic of team play. We've got to get into how do we handle our finances, our team agreements, our communication plans, our conflict resolution, and of course, our goals and our gameplay, right? We're going to have to get to some live rolls. So please check out the videos we've got in the rest of the series. In the meantime, leave us a comment here in this video, as well as join our Discord at casinogaming.tv so we can talk about it live and in person and see how you play with the team, and we'll exchange some ideas there along the way. So with that said, I'm John, this is ProCraps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless.